I was born in a two-down rat-infested slum, and I didn't believe that it would be like this now, but it is.
The last couple of years, things have progressively got worse. We have a lot of people on the streets. It's depressing place to live.
It's just a joke, in the council they don't bother, and they just fob you off with one story after another.
A niece of mine, she hasn't been paying rent because she's had to use the money to keep up with the repairs, the damp, etc. in her house, and she's now been evicted.
No one cares if you've got housing issues. They're not going to do anything about it. As long as you're giving them money for rent, they're not going to help. They're not going to provide any work that you need. No matter how many times you get in contact, they're not going to do anything about it.
Burnley, a town in the heart of Lancashire, which was once at the centre of Britain's Industrial Revolution. Nestled within stunning views of the Pennine countryside, its textile mills became known around the globe. Today, though, it's better known for having the cheapest house prices in the whole of the UK, where homes start at just £15,000. For landlords, this means bigger returns. But behind closed doors, we found residents were facing a different reality.
So look at the state of the doors. I don't want to open my kitchen windows. I'm in a concrete box. I need air, and the damp is horrible.
Rock bottom prices have seen outside investors snap up whole rows of housing. But does that investment come back into the town and its people? Some families here are forced to choose between a life on the streets or living in houses riddled with rats and mould. Others are even sleeping in their cars.
Living like this, it's not good. If you've not got an address, you've got nowhere. You've got nothing.
This is real Britannia. We're in East Lancashire, an area steeped in history and legend. It's the place where the dilapidated meets the developed, and the countryside rolls on as far as the eye can see. But it's not only the stunning views or the town's traditions that bring people to Burnley. Property prices have soared in the last few years, with the average cost of a home in the UK currently at £285,000. But in Burnley, it's less than half that. And we've found the cheapest house in the whole of Lancashire right here, up for auction for £15,000. We were told that people were actually living in this property up until a week ago, but with walls wet through with damp, grime and dead flies everywhere, it's hard to imagine how anyone could call this home. I think there's some droppings, some kind of rodent or something. Still some washing, whoever's here before, slippers and cigarettes on the window. You see the colour of the sheets. It's completely discoloured. It feels a little bit damp, kind of brown. It's just quite difficult to imagine that someone was sleeping in this bed not that long ago. I mean, in the wardrobe, the ties and their shirts are still hanging up here. I can see why someone might want to buy this as a project, but the fact that someone was living here is it's quite shocking, really. First-time buyers here snagged their home for an average of £93,400. That's £10,000 less than last year, but still over £20,000 more than 5 years ago. To put the reality of Burnley's house prices into perspective, the average home in Kensington and Chelsea in London is a whopping £1.2 million. That's enough to buy over 11 homes here. But while plummeting prices mean some can get their foot on the property ladder, others are having to rely on social housing or charitable organisations to put a roof over their head. What is this whole block? Is it social housing or is it?
It's social
Calico,
housing,
right?
Yeah, Calico, one up here, then 2 other flats on the other side.
Yeah.
So it's 4 in one block that share the same communal area.
Yeah. We met with former British Army soldier Derek Morgan, who before being given the flat he's in now, said he was housed on a road that left him exposed to bullying and even assault.
It was through the Stepping Stone project that I was put onto by the council. It took them 7 months before I got the Calico property that I'm in now. I'm safer because I'm not in the area that the Stepping Stone project put me in violence, drugs, all that. I've had to call the police so many times now, and in an area like Burnley, you don't call the police.
Why is that?
It's a case of if you call the police, you're classed as a traitor. I've lived in Burnley most of my life, and that is the motto. So people are getting assaulted, mugged, you know, bullied, and they still don't call the police. Well, I certainly worked it out the hard way, yeah.
Derek was eventually rehoused by Calico, the largest provider of affordable social housing in Burnley. They say their purpose is to make a real difference to people's lives, but this doesn't ring true for everyone.
Still don't have a key to the front door to get into my property.
So is it just open all the time?
Well, no, not all the time, no. Sometimes I have to go and sleep at a friend's because I can't get in. Now, all the people that have lived here, I've discussed with them and that, and they've said they've been complaining to Calico for some time now about the same thing. There's no extraction facilities in here. There's damp on the bottom of the window. They still haven't sorted that out. They're appalling.
So you're ex-forces, you served in the British Army.
Yes.
How does it feel to be treated like you have been in these living conditions?
I just felt like I felt rejected. You know, I've gone to all the services now and asked everyone's help because it's just anxiety, depression, you know, it makes you...
It's heartbreaking.
It really is. It hurts. Oh.
After we put Derek's claims to Calico, the company confirmed they have now fixed the issue with his front door. They told us,
"We have been in touch with our customer and taken swift action to address all of the concerns raised, and I am pleased to confirm that the door and window repairs have now been completed."
Sadly, Derek's story is all too familiar, and with the cost of living increasing year on year, many are struggling to find adequate housing. The latest government data tells us that over 2,600 households in Burnley were still waiting for social properties last year. And back in March, Michael Gove announced a £208 million cash injection to turbocharge regeneration and kickstart new housing schemes in the north. And there are clearly new building projects in Burnley, yet when it came to housing, much of what we saw was far from rejuvenated.
I was born 80 years ago in a house 2 up, 2 down, which was basically a rat-infested slum.
Yeah.
And I never believe 80 years later we still have these conditions.
Local councillor Gordon Birtwistle has lived in Burnley for 41 years and says he wants to change things for the better, but it's not easy.
We desperately need housing market renewal to return to. We need massive investment in this area to improve the living standards, the health, the well-being of the people that live in this area. I can show you photographs of a ceiling that collapsed on a young lady's child, and when they rang the landlady who owned it, she told them that she had no money, so they'd have to live with a hole in the ceiling. Never mind the poor child that nearly got cut in half with the ceiling falling on it. I've heard of the situation where if you speak up, the landlord could serve a Section 21 notice on you and have you evicted. And when you get kicked out of the house onto the street, the family that get moved into an emergency situation. Now we have 2 or 3 emergency facilities, which are, one is a converted pub where the family live in one room. This is 2024, where the family live in one room with other families who live in the other rooms of the pub, with 1 bathroom, 1 kitchen, and that's what they're expected to do.
You're clearly passionate about this. You're a local councillor, you were even an MP for 5 years and you're standing for re-election. There will be some people watching this saying, can't you be doing more to help people?
Well, we can only do what we've got with the money. The council would happily house these people, but the council don't own any houses. We don't have any council houses. But at the end of the day, the problem is so big. It's only the government has got the funds to do it. Do the people in this area feel like Michael Gove and this constituency in Surrey East, where they're all levelled up? I suggest that not one of them would say that they feel levelled up. The money we need is the levelling up money to be spent on the residential areas of this town to bring the lives back to what I believe is basic, never mind what they've got now.
Evictions can sometimes lead to emergency housing, and in other cases, homelessness. Since 2021, the number of people sleeping rough has rocketed. It's estimated that nearly 4,000 people nationally are on the streets. That's a rise of 27%. A ban on no-fault evictions was originally part of the government's Renters Reform Bill, which has never passed through Parliament and now, due to the upcoming general election, has been shelved. And those who find themselves on the streets are having to resort to makeshift homes, tents, and even cars.
We've got maybe 7 buildings here altogether, and the entire lot of it, apart from one, which I think is a charity shop, is occupied. And all the homeless people around Burnley make the way here. All the doors at the back and the windows, you've got your scaffolding.
I can see,
yeah. Your scaffolding, you can walk up to the top and get through the roofs or the top windows. But this, on an average, you've maybe got 10 people of a night, maximum maybe 15, 20 people.
This is where we meet Mark. He's been living on the streets for most of his life, but now he's sleeping in this.
This is where I live. I live in my car. Yeah. These are all my sleeping bags here. I've got all my sleeping bags. I've got my bags, that's my life. 2 Albanian guys came round and they saw me sleeping in the car, and they said to me, "What's happening?" I said, I do apologise. I said, "But I'm homeless." And they went, "There's the keys. Keep the car. There's all the paperwork. It's yours." And I was like, "Wow! I've just got a C-Class Mercedes sports coupe." You know, people think that because you're on the streets and you've got nothing to pay, and like, you know, you just have a drink all day and stuff. It's not like that at all. I mean, these people are really at the rock bottom. You've nothing else to do but drink.
A lot of people that we speak to say that it's not fair that people are on the streets because there's people coming into this country, but you had a slightly different view to that.
Right, so basically, the Albanian people who give me this car, right, whoever it is, whatever country you come from, they're coming to Britain to actually work. And it doesn't matter what you get paid, they appreciate it. Whereas the British people, they'll say, "Well, I'm not working for that."
After struggling to find housing, he turned to Church on the Street, a faith and action charity with one very popular local pastor.
Mighty Mick, we call him. Mighty Mick, what a guy. He's come from this. He's come from where I am now. What an actual inspiration that he is. It's heartbreaking seeing all these people on the street. And like I say, people are coming to Burnley because of Church on the Street.
What would you and other people do if Church on the Street wasn't there?
Literally, mate, there's nothing for us.
Hi, Mick.
Hey,
lovely to meet you.
From former drug dealer to people's pastor, Mick Fleming has lived a dangerous life. After years of violence and drug use, he knows all too well about some of the challenges people in this town can face.
So I'm from a background of addiction and crime and abuse, and I've had a little bit of homelessness as well thrown in, and a lot of trauma and death really at a young age, and I ended up addicted to substances and alcohol. And for me, it's the faith that's sort of driven what we do now. So it's called Church on the Street because that's still where we go, but it's where it began, you know.
What are some of the housing conditions like here in Burnley?
There's lots of damp and unmaintained properties. Landlords turning the houses into multiple occupancy houses, which is a room and a shared kitchen and bathroom. The cheapest place to buy houses, but you'd think then there'd be loads of housing for people, wouldn't you? You'd think that'd create more opportunities, but it creates portfolios. That's what it creates. It doesn't mean that the people who need the housing are going to get it. It means that investors are going to come and invest in houses to take money from the town, which doesn't get fed back into the economy. There's a question, I think, that, should charities be picking up the role that the state should be doing? I think for us, it's just where there's the problem, then maybe that's where we should be as a charity. If that affects more than one person, then that's good. But the thinking is for that person in that moment who's struggling the most, maybe that's where we put our time and effort and see how it pans out,
As more and more people arrived downstairs, it was easy to see just how much of a lifeline Church on the Street and its services really are to those in need.
With the system being the way it is, it's quite easy for people who are in Sam's situation, without organisations like this, to slip through the net. When you slip through the net, you're no longer an issue because you don't exist. And Sam felt like that when she came here because the system basically had failed her.
Sam, who was once a dedicated stroke nurse, sadly suffered 3 herself, which left her with severe speech difficulties. Yet despite her condition, her local council told her that as a nurse, she could manage her own care. Since moving to Burnley, and with the help of Church on the Street and her friend Paul, she found her voice again.
I don't feel good. I'm always good for speech. What's the name of that?
Seeing this lot, the way they are now, is unreal. If you'd have come in when they were first started, you'd be sat here now going, how's this happened? We all know. Hard work, innit? Yeah. Hard work.
Wherever we went in Burnley, we found that the sense of community was strong. And just a short drive away, we spoke to another man making meaningful change. The Hub, ran by Ibra Syed, is a one-stop shop where locals can get support for a whole range of issues.
So we are kind of the trusted partner. They feel trusted, they feel valued here where they come in. They are open to talk about anything, the family issues, people struggling with the income, housing benefit, disability benefits, trying to get into education, higher education. So we deal with all those sort of stuff. And this is how, they tell us a lot of things which they may not share with other people.
Not long after we arrived, Ibra took us to meet some of the residents he helps in the local area. One of them, soon-to-be centenarian Mohammed Hashim Bhatti. Mohammed, originally from Pakistan, devoted 21 years of his life to the British Army, serving in World War II. Despite his unwavering commitment and sacrifice, the state pension he received has meant daily life is a relentless struggle.
Just the government gave me little money. We have 2 sons, 1 daughter, 1 my wife, 1 I'm 5 people, are 10 pounds. We are very cold.
So you sleep here in the...
I'm sleep here.
You sleep here?
No, for me. Very poor, I'm very poor.
The window, Mohammed tells us, was smashed when his son got into a fight. He also said that another one of his sons is currently serving 18 years in prison for murder.
2 people, one other, one my son is fighting. My son have a little knife like that. He going and punch like that in here, or people to die. My son goes 18 years jail. Now he in the jail, my son.
Just a few doors down, we meet Mohammed's neighbour Riaz and his wife, who suffers with severe arthritis, meaning she can no longer easily get upstairs in the property. They've had to resort to using a toilet outside, which doesn't have a roof, a door, or even a flush.
These houses are not so good, and she can't go upstairs easily. So sometimes sick.
She gets sick because of the cold?
Yeah, sometimes because of cold and water raining, and it's difficult.
And Ibra shares his frustration, saying it's unfair that while overseas migrants are being housed in hotels, families like those we met are suffering.
I'm not against anybody, but what I'm saying, the people who are already here, who have contributed to the society and the community, I think they should be our priority. It's hard to believe this is happening in probably top 10 richest economy in the world, where we are welcoming people from Ukraine, Afghanistan. They're living in top hotels, and the local residents, they are faced with this.
People look after each other here in Burnley, and it's that same generosity that once earned the town the title of Britain's friendliest. But how do its residents feel about it today?
It's a struggle. But hey, pal, cheers, pal, take care. Some people take time to talk to you, you know, and that's what means a lot. Because it's like, well, most of them just walk past and just ignore you. And it means, you know, when people stop and talk, it means you're human.
Did you know Burnley's the cheapest place to buy a house in the UK at the moment?
Seriously? What a joke. Sorry. No, it's a bit difficult to believe, honestly. I had a friend get evicted just after Christmas. Boxing Day, she got an eviction notice because he'd sold the houses to other people.
Everybody knows me. I don't know everybody in Burnley.
You sound like Mr. Burnley.
I'm passionate about the place where I come from, mate. And everybody gets on and everybody loves each other.
Well, I think it's rougher than it used to be.
Everywhere you go, you get your nice areas and your deprived areas, don't you?
There's not much point in buying a house for 15,000 if you don't want to live there, is there?
Yeah, there's new houses being built where I am, and they reckon they're selling for 50 grand. And that's a brand new house.
Wow, that sounds incredibly cheap.
Well, if you saw how they went up, yeah, it is.
Life in Burnley certainly has its challenges. An affordable property doesn't necessarily translate to quality living standards. Yet many people we spoke to love living here. Plus, it's not just the houses that are cheap, it's the drinks too.
For a pint, it's £2.50, but on Monday or a match day, home match days, it's £2. That's our way of saying thank you to everybody. Mondays, it's £2 a pint. Shorts are £3, and our local Benedictine's £2. So we're pretty cheap, yeah.
So cheap, in fact, that some of the punters think she should be charging more.
She should put her prices up, by the way. She should put her prices up. And we come to see Sharon because she's she's the most amazing person in the world, because she involves everybody in everybody, problems, everything, whatever. Fantastic.
In Burnley, crumbling and outdated homes masquerade as affordable housing.
Oh my.
And it can be left for residents to pick up the pieces. So what's the solution? Whether it's building more houses, clamping down on failing landlords, or extra government support, a strong warmth from the community remains. There's real hope for the future, but will those living here be kept waiting?
They need to do something, sort something out, because it's a joke.
If you're private owning and you've got people living under your roofs, you need to do something about it. You need to look after the people that are living under your roofs, whether that's council or private, because there are people getting ill because of the mould, or can't even afford to feed their families because they're having to fix things that they shouldn't be paying for. I've been fighting for this for a long, long time, and unfortunately the government are deaf to things like this. I think it's wrong, and we should be getting a major investment to the council to help us improve this area.
I think the thing with Burnley is it's an amazing sort of community, the town as well. And people do pull together here. You know, there's highs and lows, there's loves and hates, but people on the whole do pull together.